in my village. Nobody looked into the darkness beneath the bamboo bridge after midnight. Not because of snakes, not because of thieves, but because people believe something looked back. My older brother laughed at those stories when we were children. He said fear made people imagine things in the dark. Then one rainy season, he disappeared on his way home from the river. 3 days later, they found his boat drifting alone beneath the bridge. The lantern was still burning, and scratched into the wet wood beside it were 5 words nobody in the village would ever forget. I saw the eyes below. The rain had not stopped for 7 days when I returned to my village. Thin silver rain drifted across the rice fields like smoke. Water overflowed from the irrigation canals and swallowed the narrow dirt roads that wound between houses. The old banyan trees leaned in the wind like tired old men whispering secrets to each other. I had not been home in nearly 12 years, not since my brother vanished. The bus dropped me near the entrance to the village just before sunset. The driver refused to go any farther. The roads flood at night, he muttered, but his eyes kept drifting toward the distant river, as if something waited there. I stepped into the rain and pulled my coat tighter around my body. The village looked smaller than I remembered. The old wooden homes sagged beneath the storm. Moss crawled over broken walls. Red incense smoke drifted lazily from ancestral altars behind open doors. Somewhere far away, a dog barked once and then fell silent. Nobody smiled when they saw me. They recognized me immediately. Whispers followed me through the rain. Tan's younger brother. He came back. After all these years, an old woman selling vegetables near the flooded market grabbed my wrist as I passed. Her skin felt cold. Too cold. "You should not stay here after dark," she whispered. Her cloudy eyes trembled. The eyes have opened again. I slowly pulled my hand away. "What eyes?" She looked toward the river. Then she released me without another word. By the time I reached my family's house, night had already swallowed the village. The house stood at the edge of the bamboo forest, exactly where I remembered it. The wooden walls were darker now. The roof sagged from years of rain and neglect. Inside, the air smelled of incense, ash, and damp wood. My mother sat silently beside the ancestral altar. She looked impossibly older. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she stood and touched my face gently. "You shouldn't have come back," she whispered. The storm rattled the windows. "I had to," I replied. Her eyes drifted toward my brother's old photograph resting beside the incense bowl. The picture had faded badly over the years, but I still remembered his smile. Confident, fearless, alive. My mother lit another stick of incense with trembling hands. "People have started seeing them again," she said quietly. "Seeing what?" She hesitated. The eyes. Thunder rolled across the distant mountains. That night, I could not sleep. Rain hammered the roof endlessly. Wind hissed through cracks in the walls. Somewhere outside, frogs croaked in the flooded fields. I lay awake, listening to the village breathe beneath the storm. Then I heard it. Soft footsteps outside the house. Slow, dragging. I sat up immediately. The footsteps stopped beneath my window. For several seconds, there was only rain. Then something scratched softly against the wood. My chest tightened. I forced myself toward the window and slowly pulled the curtain aside. Nothing. Only darkness and rain. But near the bamboo fence, something moved. A shadow. Tall. Still. Watching the house. Lightning flashed across the sky. The figure vanished. The next morning, I walked to the river. The path leading there cut through flooded rice fields and dense bamboo groves dripping with rainwater. Every sound felt strangely distant beneath the heavy fog. The river itself looked darker than I remembered. Wide, silent, ancient. Black water moved slowly beneath the bamboo bridge where my brother's boat had been found all those years ago. An old fisherman sat nearby repairing his net. He stopped when he saw me. "You're Tan's brother." It was not a question. I nodded. The old man spat into the river. "Your brother stayed out too late," he murmured. He saw something he should not have seen. I stepped closer. What exactly did he see? The fisherman looked uncomfortable. For several moments, only the sound of rain filled the silence. Then he spoke quietly. There are places in this river where the water has no bottom. I frowned slightly. That's impossible. The fishermen ignored me. The elders used to say spirits sleep beneath the river mud. Ancient things, older than the village itself. His eyes drifted toward the dark water. Sometimes during the rainy season, they wake up. A cold wind passed across the river. I noticed small bundles of incense floating slowly downstream. Offerings. The fisherman lowered his voice further. People who look into the water at night sometimes see eyes staring back at them. That evening, the rain became heavier. The entire village disappeared beneath fog and darkness. Lantern light flickered weakly behind windows like dying stars. My mother refused to let me leave the house after sunset. But shortly after midnight, I heard the chanting. Faint, distant, coming from the river. I stepped outside before I could stop myself. The air smelled of wet earth and incense smoke. The chanting drifted through the fog like a funeral prayer. I followed it, past the flooded fields, past abandoned houses swallowed by vines, past the old shrine near the bamboo grove, until I reached the bridge. Several villagers stood silently near the riverbank holding lanterns. No one acknowledged me. They stared into the water together, as if waiting. An elderly monk stood at the edge of the bridge, chanting softly while rain poured over his robes. I stepped closer. What's happening? A woman beside me answered without looking away from the river. They're asking it to sleep again. My stomach tightened. The river water moved strangely, not like a current, like something shifting beneath the surface. Then I saw them. Eyes. Dozens of pale reflections beneath the black water, blinking slowly, watching us. I froze. The villagers lowered their heads immediately. The monks' chanting became louder. The eyes did not move. They simply stared upward from the darkness below the river. Cold terror spread through my chest. Then one pair of eyes rose closer to the surface, far too large to belong to any human being. The lanterns flickered violently. Someone beside me began crying softly, and suddenly, a voice whispered my name from beneath the water. Not loudly, softly, like my brother speaking directly into my ear. I stumbled backward in horror. The chanting stopped. The eyes vanished instantly. The river became still again, as though nothing had happened. The villagers began leaving without a word. Nobody looked at me. Nobody spoke. Only the monk remained standing near the water. Rain dripped slowly from his hood. You heard him, didn't you? He asked quietly. My throat felt dry. That voice. The monk nodded sadly. The river remembers the dead. I stared at him. Were those things? The monk's expression darkened. Hungry spirits. He looked toward the river. But sometimes they wear familiar faces. I barely slept after that. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those pale reflections staring upward from beneath the water. Watching, waiting. Near dawn, I finally drifted into an uneasy sleep and dreamed of my brother. He stood waist-deep in black water beneath the bridge. Rain fell endlessly around him. His face looked pale and exhausted. Terrified. Don't look at them, he whispered. Then something moved beneath the water behind him. Huge, shifting slowly upward. My brother began crying. They know your face now. I woke violently. Someone was knocking on the front door. 3 slow knocks. My mother opened it cautiously. No one stood outside. Only a soaked lantern resting on the ground. The same lantern my brother had carried the night he disappeared. My mother collapsed the moment she saw it. That afternoon, I visited the abandoned temple beyond the bamboo forest. The villagers avoided the place completely now, even during daylight. The temple stood half swallowed by vines and moss at the foot of the mountain. Stone guardian statues stared blindly through the rain. Rotten prayer flags twisted in the wind. Inside, the air smelled ancient, dusty, forgotten. The old monk from the river sat alone before a cracked altar. He motioned for me to sit. For several moments, he remained silent. Then he spoke. Your brother came here before he died. I felt my pulse quicken. What did he want? He believed the river was calling to him. The monk placed a weather journal in front of me. It belonged to him. My hands trembled as I opened it. Most pages were damaged by water, but several entries remained readable. The handwriting grew increasingly unstable toward the end. I keep seeing eyes beneath the bridge. They watch me every night. I hear voices calling my name from the water. I think something followed me home. Rain hammered the temple roof. I turned to the final page. The writing looked rushed, desperate. There are no reflections in the river anymore. Only faces. Cold dread filled my body. The monk stared at the altar flame. "The spirits beneath the river feed on grief," he whispered. "They imitate the dead. They lure the lonely." I swallowed hard. My brother wasn't imagining it. "No." The monk looked at me carefully. "And now they've seen you too." The rain stopped briefly that night. For the first time in days, the village became silent. Too silent. No insects. No frogs. No wind. Around midnight, I heard someone calling my name outside. My brother's voice. Soft. Weak. "Please help me." My entire body froze. The voice came again from beyond the bamboo fence. "I'm cold." Tears burned behind my eyes. It sounded exactly like him. Every detail. Every breath. My mother gripped my arm tightly. "Do not answer," she whispered. The voice continued for nearly an hour, begging, crying, sometimes laughing softly between sobs. Then suddenly, the voice stopped. Silence returned. But deep in the distance, near the river, something enormous splashed beneath the darkness. The next morning, a child disappeared from the village. Only his sandals were found beside the bridge. Panic spread quickly. Doors remained locked. Incense smoke filled every home. No one spoke above a whisper anymore. That evening, the monk came to our house carrying several old prayer lanterns. "The river is hungry," he said quietly. My mother looked terrified. "What do we do?" The monk's face remained calm. "We finished what began 12 years ago." Rain returned after sunset, harder than before. The entire village gathered near the river, holding lanterns beneath the storm. Thunder shook the mountains. The monk handed me my brother's lantern. "You must return his voice to the river." I stared at him in confusion. "What does that mean?" The monk pointed toward the bridge. "Your brother," answered the darkness. Part of him never returned. The river churned violently beneath us now. The black water no longer looked natural. It moved like breathing flesh. The villagers began chanting together. Lanterns flickered across the fog. Then the eyes appeared again. Hundreds of them, beneath the surface, watching. The water slowly rose around the bridge without overflowing, as though something massive was lifting beneath it. My knees weakened, and then I saw my brother standing in the river, pale, motionless. His clothes drifted beneath the water. His face looked hollow, broken. "Please," he whispered. My heart shattered. I stepped toward him instinctively. The villagers screamed. The monk grabbed my shoulder violently. "Don't listen." But my brother kept staring at me. Tears mixed with rain across his face. "They won't let me leave." Something enormous shifted beneath him. The river bulged upward, and slowly, other faces began appearing around him beneath the water. Dozens, then hundreds. Dead eyes staring upward through the darkness. The lantern in my hand suddenly went out. Every other lantern followed. Darkness swallowed the bridge completely. The chanting stopped, and all at once, the voices began screaming beneath the river. Not human screams. Ancient, agonized, hungry. The water erupted violently. I saw enormous shapes twisting beneath the surface. Eyes opening everywhere in the darkness. My brother reached toward me desperately, and something grabbed him from below. His body jerked downward violently into the black water. Gone instantly. I screamed his name. The monk forced the lantern back into my hands. "Light it." My hands shook uncontrollably as I struck the match. The flame ignited, and the moment the lantern glowed, the screaming stopped. The river became still. The eyes vanished. Only rain remained. The villagers stood frozen in silence. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Slowly, the monk lowered his head. "It's over," he whispered. But I knew he was wrong, because as I looked down into the water one final time, I saw something far below the surface, watching me. Two enormous pale eyes opening slowly beneath the river mud, smiling. I left the village the next morning before sunrise. The rain finally stopped. Fog drifted silently across the rice fields as the bus carried me away from the river. No one spoke during the journey. I tried convincing myself it was finished, that I could forget what I had seen. But sometimes late at night, when the world becomes quiet enough, I still hear water dripping in the darkness. And occasionally, just before falling asleep, I hear my brother whispering softly beside my bed, "Don't look below." Last week, I woke up at exactly 2:13 a.m. My bedroom floor was wet, and standing outside my window was a figure holding an old lantern, waiting silently in the dark. Behind him, reflected in the glass, I saw dozens of pale eyes staring at me from the darkness below.